the algorithm. It's the algorithm. It's the algorithm.
What up, what up, what up? How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to our 8th and final episode of the algorithm for 2025. I'm David Verjano, and I'm here with JC Perez. We're hyped about today's slate of conversation because we have a lot to go through. Not just what's been happening recently, but what really happened in 2025 and what's going to happen in 2026. JC, what's the rundown here for you? You know, how's everything been this past week?
Good, man. Well, I've spent most of 95% of my week with you, so I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking to everybody else here. No, it's been good, man. We had a hectic week. You came up here. We had a great meeting with a new client of ours that we're working on his D2C brand. And then we had our Christmas party. So super exciting, our first annual Christmas party. Although technically we had one last year, but it wasn't really like an actual full-on Cultura Christmas party. So this is it was a really cool time and an event to be able to get most of the shows that we do at Cultura on the digital media side. We had a lot of the agency people at the party as well. So it was really cool to have our family and friends and everybody that's part of what we do at Cultura there for the Christmas party. So that was really cool. And then rushed up today. I had a shoot in the morning for some of the social content that we're creating for Cultura with the girls, with Millie and Emily, with their social team. And then I just drove up. So I'm running on some Cuban coffee right now, to be honest with you. I've been fasting, running on some Cuban coffee. So I'm hyped.
Yeah, I'm on my second cup. I just brewed one right before just to get through the rest of the day. It's been definitely a hectic but a great week. Yesterday was fun with the team.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, really to kind of jump into it, I think we'll start sharing here the rundown for today's kind of conversation, and we'll start with a couple that are more contemporary or happening right now, which is CNBC just launched the Rebrand, some mixed reviews there. There's been a lot of hype around Marty Supreme, the film by A24, and Timothy Chalamet, and kind of like the way they've gone about marketing. There's always like new layers that have been coming out because it's supposed to release actually on Christmas Day, and they've done a pretty good job of kind of promoting that film and using some unique kind of methods to get their name out there. And then we'll wrap it up with a little bit about IG, more tactical, kind of like so people that maybe even though you are someone that uses it a lot or is a social media manager, IG has constantly, updated their algorithm. I think it's important to kind of jump into what the signals that they use to kind of decide what's on your feed or what's not, what it values or not values. So we'll get into that, and then finally we'll do some best of 2025 as well as the not so great stuff, and then a little tease, a little sneak preview into some of the stuff that we've been doing at the agency, and then we'll open it up for any Q&A and some other stuff that we have on deck. So JC, I don't know if there's anything else you want to make a note of here before we jump into the first topic here.
No, man, just excited for point 4, which is best of 2025 and outlook of 2026. I'm excited of everything that we're doing and the path that we're taking. So that's going to be dope to dive into that with you here.
For sure. So the first one being CNBC. Obviously, this is like part of NBC Universal and really their business focused channel.
The Consumer News and Business Channel, CNBC. We're happy we have your attention, and we promise to work hard to keep it.
So that's kind of a teaser of like how they went from the history of the different CNBC logos to what it is today. Kind of getting a closer look here of what it looks like. it's gotten a lot of mixed reviews, especially from the design community. You obviously extract the whole NBC, the Peacock side of it. And some people were questioning why, and we'll kind of get into that. But just from a tactical standpoint of like looking at the logo, I showed this to JC literally not yesterday, but the day before. And he's like, but I don't get the little wedge, the triangle. Like, what does that mean? And I was like, I really don't get it. And then I put my thumb over it to cover it. And I'm like, oh, well, if they don't have that there, then it looks like CABC. So then that looks weird. So it was almost like they were forced to do that. And it just feels like it's trying to do a lot of different things. Some people reference that like the arrow is more about like prediction markets and stocks and that kind of stuff. It's still very abstract in my opinion. You saw how they animate it, but it's kind of generic, honestly. Like it doesn't feel like there's anything unique or ownable about it. They tried going like ultra sleek and modern with like this sans serif font and the geometric look and stuff. And that little connecting thing between the N and the B. I feel like they should probably like go closer into that if that's going to be such a unique design feature. Like it should be maybe a more focal point, but I don't know. I still feel like it's one of those things where, as these businesses are trying to adapt, they're trying to add a new fresh face to it and see how they look different and updated and whatnot. But I just don't think this really pushes a needle for them. JC, what are your thoughts here?
No, I think this is more strategic business move on their end, and we were talking about this earlier. So, kind of if you pull the drape here, really what's happening is they're separating the CNBC from Comcast. Comcast being the parent company, so think of Comcast like Disney. Essentially, that's exactly what it is, and they're pulling a few of the brands actually: CNBC, MSNBC, USA, E. Sci-Fi and Golf Channel are all basically going into like this holding company that is going to be quote unquote separate from the parent company Comcast. And I think like and that company is called Spinco, by the way. So I think this is very strategic. Disney did the same thing when they brought on Fox. They didn't take on Fox News in the deal with Fox. It was really all of the IP and all of the kind of like the other brands that come with that. I think this is very strategic. I think a lot of these brands are realizing that mixing news, although CNBC is very business oriented and it's really respected in the industry. I think like they're trying to separate the some of the news and with the other IPs and with some of the other parts of the business. I think that's very strategic on their end. Again, you saw Disney doing this, and they want to kind of separate themselves, but also like really focusing on digital. This is very clean. It's very kind of streamlined. It is a little sterile, but it's very digital forward. I don't get it. I don't really love the logo. It doesn't really speak to me in any way, shape, or form. It's funny in this little video that you put. One of the first logos. It's like one of the I think the first logo that CNBC had. That logo is probably the best logo that they've ever had. It's very
refresh it here.
Can you play it real quick?
Yeah, we'll go back up here.
But that logo, like, to me, was the best.
The Consumer News and Business Channel, CNBC. We're happy we have your attention.
And I can see where they kind of went with the same end, like they went with a very similar end. But like to me, that was the best logo that they've had. I don't understand why they wouldn't just tap into the resources and things that they've done. So I don't know. Look, we've been through what like 10 of these already or 8 of these already since we started the Owlgorithm, and it feels like MS Now is terrible. Like I don't even know what that is. It's atrocious. So I just feel like these companies are overthinking it. I don't really understand the reason or the rhyme behind any of this. And nah, man, I mean, it's just kind of falls flat, honestly.
They feel a step behind. They feel like, okay, if you would have dropped this at like in 2015, this would have felt fresh maybe. But this is 10 years old in my opinion. And it's going to continue to feel dated. And then like in 5 years, 10 years again, they're going to have to update it because it's just not going to strike the chord that they want. But I think that this is like a microcosm of the bigger issue of, the big media channels and these kind of brands. because I just don't think that people are even paying as much attention as they used to this. Like there are still some legacy viewers that pay attention to it. But yeah, it's as Marty's pointing, it looks older. Like I see that there's modern elements to it, but it just feels like, yeah, like it's stuck in 2015. And yeah, this is clearly a separation from the Peacock NBC kind of branding, but it feels very sterile. It feels very generic. Like I think that you're starting to see more brands even outside of finance and media lean into like serif typefaces and things that have a little bit more character. This has too much of that sterile sans serif, just clean, bold font. Like I think that this is better for like just basic copy and other things within the brand, not like the main logo and the thing that speaks to you and has personality, because it doesn't.
It feels a little panicky too. It feels like there's nothing strategic about this, about the MS Now, about CNBC. Like it feels like they're almost like a little on survival mode here and just kind of like throwing shit on a wall, see what sticks, trying to put together this separate company outside of Comcast. And it doesn't feel cohesive. It feels a little all over the place. And I know panicky is not a word, but it just feels panicky. That's the best thing I could think of, because it really does, man.
And here was that point you made, and this is back from 2024 November, and it was that they had announced that they were going to spin off like a tech cloud service logo.
That's what it looks like.
And it has that. Just some major call outs here, as you mentioned. These are the channels that are part of that spin-off, which is MSNBC, CNBC, USA E, Sci-Fi, and the Golf Channel. I wonder who's watching those channels these days. Like
also random brands.
Yeah, and Golf Channel I feel like is a
little all over the place.
Yeah, like this is the one that makes the least sense. Like Sci-Fi and Golf Channel, and as part of that is like, what? I get the first four. They have like entertainment, finance, news in general, but then Sci-Fi and Golf Channel just feel like, okay, now you're just and also calling it SpinCo feels like ironic. It's almost like, isn't that what people would say about mainstream media, that they're always spinning something in their own way? Like I don't know if they leaned into that ironically or unironically. Like what
didn't Fox News have like no spin zone? No, that was
O'Reilly.
It was one of the O'Reilly had no spin zone.
Yeah, he would say that. But again, obviously everyone's spinning it their own way, so it's just funny how they all do this. But even though it mentions here that these networks are still profitable, I just feel like it must have been something that is definitely lower the forecast, and that amount of revenue and those projections definitely have ticked down or stagnated for sure. I think the Golf Channel is probably the best one here, because the golf community is still big, and golf is still very strong. I almost feel like they should spin that off and be its own thing, because it just doesn't make sense here. So I think that, just to kind of recap here, especially when you see these two side by side, it does feel like they're in a little bit of a panic mode. It doesn't feel like they really know what to do with it. They almost just did this to visually separate from NBC and the Peacock thing. But I almost would guarantee you that in the next handful of years, you'll see another rebrand or another refresh of this. Like they'll keep the name MS Now maybe and just make that look different. But and CNBC, I feel like that might end up changing too, because if they took out MSNBC, right? I don't know. It just feels like this is going to be a shift.
Clunky. It's clunky as fuck, bro. It really is. It's clunky.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for this CNBC kind of update there. A more fun topic here. We talked about it briefly in one of the past episodes. Marty Supreme, the film that's coming out on Christmas Day. And more recently, what happened is that they did a whole merch drop, and they did like this pop-up in Soho in New York, and they had people outside the lines. They sold out. They were selling like different variations of this jacket. Very hype beast, very like what's urban streetwear culture right now. And they were selling these jackets for like $250. So it was not cheap. Like they're definitely, but it's just the way that this whole thing has been kind of pushed. We talked about that kind of fake Zoom call that he did with the marketing team, and how it kind of like, it was a long one too. It felt very organic, but it just obviously was done tactically and done well. But even this whole thing, like people with ping pong balls, because like the story is that his character is a professional ping pong player.
It's a real story, no? Or based off a true
I believe
story?
so. I think it's based on a true story. There's one little account here, Project Big Screen, that kind of summed up this that we can watch real quick and see a little summary of what happened with the drop.
How much would you be willing to spend on a piece of movie merch? Yesterday, A24 had their pop-up sale for the coveted Marty Supreme merch in New York City. So of course we went the second the Lisan Al-Gaid posted to his Instagram story. I got down there around 2:30 and it wasn't starting till 4 and it was already packed, as you can see. But even just 30 minutes later, I'd say the line grew about 5 sizes bigger.
Jeez.
We were wondering how much this would cost. And to be honest, it's kind of fucked up, but $250 was a lot less than what we were thinking. And I was ready to pay a hefty sum. One of my favorite theater going experiences of my life, seeing Marty Supreme premiere at the New York Film Festival in October. I was going to have this jacket no matter what. So we're back in line. But before we can even get to see this truck, you actually have to walk past all these mannequins. And they also just had highlights from different great American athletes going throughout this entire pop-up. So back in line, I finally get something. Of course, they did sell out of the blues almost immediately. So I went with the red. Nice American colors. This is an American movie. As you see right there, USA on the back. Then as you can see here, Marty's got his own like Jumpman type logo. Pretty awesome stuff. On the tag too, little details. And on the tag there you see Namias. That's who designed these clothes. Then I rolled with the navy pants. I love the stars, reminiscent of Dragon Ball Z. Then also you see his little Running Man logo. And yeah, this whole set was expensive. It wasn't cheap. I did tell my girlfriend that I will not be buying any more Blu-rays for the rest of the year, but I'm happy with my purchase. What do you think? Would you spend that much money on some movie merch?
No,
It's kind of crazy.
I wouldn't. I would not.
Definitely
I
would
would not. Dude, look, man, the level of world building this freaking movie has had is incredible. Like they've done such a good job of creating this atmosphere and world around really like a project that I don't think a lot of people know of. Like, honestly, I want to watch the movie now. Like, it makes me want to watch the movie, and I have no connection to any of this, and I want to watch the movie. So this is a great job. They did an incredible job, man. And the merch drops. Like, no, I wouldn't spend that, but obviously a lot of people will.
Like obviously this guy's a film buff. You know, he's like super into this stuff.
Yeah,
so
the world building is just next level.
Makes total sense. Like if you're a fan of Timothée Chalamet or if you're a fan of any of the other people involved, I think Tyler, the creator, is also in it. Like there's other, you know, high profile people involved in it. But I definitely would not be buying this. But just as like a marketing masterclass and how you go about promoting a film, we talked about Blumhouse and how they went around doing it for horror films. Like this is a great way to do it, other than just dropping a trailer and expecting people to like watch the trailer out of nowhere and hopefully that's enough to get their attention. There's so many angles here. And even so, there was a premiere and like he wore this to it, right? All orange with a little ping pong like designer bag that's like just little touches that just elevated and have references back to the movie while still being fashionable and having that element to it. So it's kind of crazy. And then even like I think in that conversation they were talking about an orange blimp too in the Zoom call, and they actually did it.
Created
I don't know where
it.
This was.
That's so
looks
wild.
like LA, I'm assuming, by the palm trees.
Fantastic.
But it's just all these different layers: the orange, the ping pongs, the merch. Everything about it has definitely captivated people's attentions in different ways. I think more recently he just did like a collab with Drewski, who's like a big creator, and he does like these things almost like American Idol, invites people. It's called like Could Have Been Records, and people like perform, and then he's like, get the hell out of here, like, all right, you're going on through and all that stuff, and he was part of it. So it's they're doing all the things, you know, like all the things that are needed in today's environment. And I think this is just like good to study. I think specifically from the merch, looking at those little details is great, like showing like how even though you haven't even watched the movie, knowing those little references and those little icons and things that could live on merch or live as tags and other details on anything you release is great. It shows that that's like a well-rounded, a well-thought-out kind of campaign and rollout.
Yeah, and it also, like, you know, and we were talking about this at dinner the other day with the client. where, I was telling the story about sales and marketing and how 15, 20 years ago, those divisions were usually kind of separated. And now it's just, it is what it is. They're the same. They should be at least the same office in a business and working together. This goes to show you, like on campaigns like this, how PR, brand activation, marketing, they all go hand in hand. They're all the same thing now. When you think of how do I communicate, how do I roll these projects out, these either a movie or a brand, a new product, whatever the case may be, like this is a 360 approach to branding and marketing, and in the new day and age. So, and they're doing it at a very high level. They get their demographic. They're obviously really honing in on Gen Z as well. It's just it's incredible. They did a great job. And again, I wouldn't have been interested in the movie, maybe on the sports kind of like realm and angle. I may have been interested in it, but now I'm very interested in watching this movie to see what the heck it is, and how does this world that they've built extend into the movie. I'm really interested to see that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know if I'll watch it when it drops, but I feel like I will be.
I'll watch it for sure. At some point.
So the next topic here now is getting into Instagram. This is less of a timely thing, even though more recently they announced some updates to their algorithm. There's definitely a ton of things that are in this kind of breakdown. You can go on their website and show the different notes of the algorithmic changes they've done, but kind of broke out 5 key ones that we felt were important to cover. Starting with this first one, which is kind of really important, and it's talking about Instagram isn't really ranking content anymore. It's really ranking the likelihood of engagement, and by the context itself. Context meaning like, is it in the feed? Is it in the explore page? Is it on the Reels feed? And each of these had their own method. So feed and stories, it's very much on like the relationship with the person who's viewing it. So it could be their family, a friend, or is it just someone that they follow and is just a celebrity? So those things they prioritize relationship over anything, and obviously relevance, right? Like if they know that you engaged with or like a lot of that person's stuff, they're going to keep putting it in those people's feeds and stories. Whereas the explore page is more on like interest prediction. So it's more like, well, we've known that over the course of X amount of time, I don't know, usually it's very timely. Like if we've seen it, you go and you like a bunch of stuff for merch, like shoes or something, you're going to open up that explore page and you're going to get hit with a bunch that is related to that, sports stuff, anything like that. You start seeing more of that, and it's very much predictive on the interest front. And then the Reels is more on entertainment value and retention, meaning are you watching through something? Are you like really engaging with it, not just liking it, but like a lot of those things matter now. And the second one kind of hones in on that, which is saying like likes matter less than what you would think. And on the Reels, like watch time is right there at the very top to what is weighed in priority wise. So like watch time, if you complete the whole video, if you rewatch it, and then the saves and the shares are obviously that other signal of like, damn, this was so good that you're willing to like share that with other people that So these are the things that should be. Notice that comments aren't even on here. Like comments and likes aren't even at the higher portion of this hierarchy. So it's just kind of something to consider. And I think it's smart and it makes sense because you ultimately want the quality content to rise. And these are signals that tell you that there is something worthy of watching it all the way through or replaying it or sharing it. So I think that that's a key thing for people to take into consideration. And then the third one here, it's really about who you interact with the most is what is feed and stories are really heavily honed in on, right? Your DMs, like if JC and I DM a lot and send each other a bunch of stuff, and we're gonna get like if you post to your story, like it's probably going to be one of the bubbles that comes up towards the top. Same thing with people that are immediate friends and family. And then the comments, like if you're engaging with someone, all this stuff, you go to their profile, the saves. I think saves across the board is just like a really good signal because it's like I want to refer back to this, I want to go back to that. And reacting to people's stories too, like not just seeing them through, but being like commenting or responding to it, so that they know that there's some sort of value beyond just like the impression.
Mhm.
And then the fourth one here is really about hooks, right? They matter, but delivery matters more, meaning a strong first 2 seconds with a weak ending still gets penalized. Meaning don't just do a hook and then the rest of the video sucks. That's like a hack that isn't going to work. So they mentioned it, like content people finish, that people watch again, and that they share. And then things that could hurt it would be sometimes watermarks, if it's too low res, if it's recycled over and over, and clickbait without the payoff for sure is definitely something. So those are just some things. Like, even though it says it hurts reach, doesn't mean like if you have a watermark or a logo that it won't get fed somewhere. It's just like sometimes people use it in very blatant or unappealing ways, and then that will hurt it, along with low res or just clickbaity stuff. Yeah. And then the last one here is really this feature about your algorithm. There's like this new transparency tool that you can go into your settings, and it'll show you like why you're being shown certain reels. You can reset or refrain from getting the recommendations, and you can like shape and adjust it over time. So it's putting a little bit more control in the user's hands. I doubt that a lot of people will use this. I think like only power users, maybe 5-10% would like go into this. There would probably have to be a much more awareness and people telling other people to be like, hey, do this if you really want whatever. Like, I know that we've gone in and tweaked stuff just to see how it works, but it's not like I'm there doing that on the regular. So it's just something that's to consider as part of like what's available and how they're adjusting the stuff. So the takeaways again here is every touch point is optimized for what you're most likely to enjoy next. Like, yes, it takes into consideration your behavior, but then it takes into context what people like you, what other people in your community and that you follow are doing, and just has that kind of like algorithmic prediction and recommendation that you're going to be served these things, and they expect you to like more of that. So for brands, what does that mean? You got to build that community, not just to reach. You got to have people that are really going to be engaged with your stuff. So who cares if you have 100,000 followers if a lot of them aren't even engaging with your stuff? Like, they're not going to really get to see your stuff. So it's more about like making sure that you do something appealing enough for them to engage and build that community, and make stuff that allows them to be retained and to share and save your stuff. Like, you want people to watch through your stuff. You don't want people to just say that hey, I got 10,000 views on this one post. It doesn't really matter if the watch through rate was like people bouncing after the first 2 to 3 seconds. And the last part here for the brands is treating content like product iterations, meaning like you get to test things out. It's about testing and seeing what works, and then you can try something else that leans more into that style or that media format that works, and don't just like do the same thing over and over. Like, yes, you could have a format that works, but it's about iterating and testing things out, because it's not about just sticking to what you know. It's going to be predictive about what's going to happen next and what's happening in the grand scheme of things. So the last part here for creators, obviously post consistently within a clear lane is good, right? Like you focus, like Bima Williams is really good at talking about collabs. So everything he talks about is like very leaned in on that, and he has a format, but it's different content. It's not like he's saying the same thing over and over, the same kind of like thing. And then focus on that watchability, like we mentioned, and engage back, meaning don't just wait for people to give you a bunch of comments and then don't respond to them. Like, you should be going in and being like, thank you, or responding or having a banter with them, so that there is that back and forth and you build that community. So JC, I definitely covered a lot here, but I know there's even more that we haven't even touched on. Is there anything here that you wanted to layer in?
No, honestly, most of it you covered. I think the only thing is like intention matters in all of this. The data matters in all of this, and I think you covered it in one of the last points, which is like, I think 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that, it was the pray and spray approach. Like, let's try to see how much you can get on, because the algorithm was built a little bit differently. I think now it is honed in on creating that community and really engaging with your community, and the intention matters in how you build your your approach for Instagram, and specifically talking about brands here. Creators are a little bit different because there's different types of content, and different type of content creators. But as a brand, like, your intention matters here, and the optimization and the looking into the numbers, the looking into the data, and making sure you're on top of that, is right at your your palm. Like, you're able to see that on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, I think again, to kind of hone it in, intention matters here, and that whole pray and spray approach, as it used to be. Although you can and you do want to test things out, I think it's really important to make sure that you're continuously going back into the data, checking out what is retaining your client, retaining the viewer, and making sure you continue to hone in on that and optimize your content as you move forward. And that's why, specifically for brands, like, social media managers are very important, and that is not just creating content. It's also understanding the content that you're creating, understanding the numbers behind it, and understanding how you optimize that moving forward with the data that's being given to you. So, and that's on the paid side as well, but we're talking about mostly organic here.
Yeah, and I think the key thing that I'm seeing is that they're rewarding a lot of the people that don't just post, but actually then jump into that two-way communication side of it. Like,
Correct.
Make sure that you are engaging with the people who are showing you love. And that's something that I feel like they need to double down on, because Instagram is saturated. There's only so many accounts and people they can show on someone's feed. And so what are you going to prioritize or reward? It shouldn't just be the clickbait stuff. It shouldn't just be the things that get your attention, but then it has like not much substance afterwards. And you're competing against something like TikTok that opens the aperture. And I think that TikTok still has a higher organic reach, and it will share your stuff to people anywhere in the world, really. Mm-hmm. And so you see some of those numbers on TikTok, and people are getting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views on certain content. And you're like, wow. But at the end of the day, it's like, what's the tactical or tangible side to that? Like, is that person even someone that can take action on what you're doing?
Correct.
Providing
Correct.
a service or selling a product. So as a business, I heard this story about a year ago, and it was talking about this creator, and she makes like handcrafted different garments and stuff. And they did this event, and she had like millions of followers on TikTok at this point. They did this event where she was going to pop up and like showcase her work. And then like literally less than 50 people showed up to it, even though she had millions of followers and all this stuff. And it was like, it just showed, it was a little bit of like opening of the aperture to a point where it's like, that's great. But if someone in New Zealand and India and South America is saying all these things, that's great for the sake of saying that you have the vanity metrics.
Yeah.
But at least Instagram needs to double down on the fact that they have a lot more data. They're able to connect the dots in a better way. And I think that this is them trying to find a way to make sure that they stay connected to the user, as opposed to TikTok that feels like they're kind of like dangling the carrot of, hey, you can get a ton more reach here. Even though TikTok Shop obviously is successful for certain people and products, I think that Instagram needs to hone in on the fact that they have a very valuable user base, and they don't want to lose them to TikTok. So
that's also a great point for brands that are looking to collaborate with creators and bring on brand ambassadors, etc. The metrics are readily available to you, and at the end of the day, there is obviously a strategy that is more of brand awareness, and sometimes maybe driving the needle as far as conversion maybe is not necessarily the bottom line that you're looking for a certain campaign. But for most small businesses, most small brands, it is. And you want to see that conversion. You want to see, if you are partnering with a creator, that it's moving the needle. And I think like that's a really good point as brands here more and more are getting collaborative with creators. Make sure that these creators have built a community that engage with that creator, when they either post about a product or post about something that they want to drive the needle on and push conversion. So that's a really good point. As we get in here into even more of a creator universe when it comes to brands.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps up the pretty much like what's moving the needle for Instagram really this year and moving into 2026. Obviously, these are like ever changing things that algorithms will be updated and they will adjust to the market. So you just have to stay on top of it. I think it's good if like on a quarterly basis or, you know, at least at a 6-month mark, if you're a business to like check in and do a little bit of research to make sure like you don't have to be following every single trend. I think that that's very much a tactical thing that is very trendy and might not last, you know, like cool, you did that one viral trend that everyone did and then next week nobody remembers it. So just think about the things that work for you and make sure that it works within that platform. And Instagram is definitely making some changes, and so you have to stay on top of that stuff. But kind of like jumping into this, our fourth topic, it's pretty much the best and worst of 2025.
Here we go.
And I think one of the top ones here was Severance and the pop-up that Apple TV did at Grand Central Station. They did like pretty much this cube where you can kind of peek into them actually working. So different actors were in it. So we'll play this for a bit so you can get an idea of what this was. You can see it. I think everyone gets the gist of it there of, you know, how they kind of brought that to life, especially bringing in the real actors and allowing people to have a live look at it. I think it's going back to some of the things that we've discussed on previous episodes, like having a great digital presence is at the forefront of how you get attention and awareness, but making that connective thread to an in-person experiential event is like the next level, because it's no longer like, oh, this thing exists on a screen that I can't touch or see in person. Like now it becomes like, damn, now it's real for me. It's not something that's just like out there in the cloud. So I think it's great. And even though we didn't physically go and see this in person, like we believe and we see like the impact of, damn, that's kind of cool that they actually activated this in a real space. And so I think that they did a great job of doing that, and it just brought even more awareness to a very successful series that, you know, they launched. So what are your thoughts on this, Jason?
What was the tax company that did something similar to this, but in a funny way? They did it with one of the
they got the guy from The Office.
The Office, yeah. Which I also love.
It was someone.
But I also love that as well. And yeah, I agree with you. I think like being able to bring what's on screen and sometimes feels distant and not and impersonal to a very like, you know, personal setting and right in front of you. Even if you're seeing it through Instagram, you can kind of like feel it a little bit more. It's not a show at this point. It's like a real activation. It's an in-person activation. I love these. Love these, man. I think that brands need to do more of this. Again, we just saw kind of like with the Marty thing, something very similar, that we had that the tax company that did something similar in a glass office like this. I think these are really cool, and there's so much content that comes out of this, both from the viewer, you know, the people that are there watching it, and then obviously like, you know, these brands will have you know, photographers, videographers collecting content, social media managers collecting content. So fantastic. I love this. It was definitely top in 2025. Yeah, it has legs. So much legs, man.
and even the individuals, not even like their own team or like the other media channels, it's like individuals being like, oh my God, look what I saw, right?
Yeah.
And then they share it on their stories and their feeds and stuff, and it just creates that ripple effect of like, holy crap, that's really cool. And then it keeps it top of mind, right? Like if you were like you haven't watched the series but you were curious about it, like damn, now maybe I want to jump in. Or like maybe you watched it and you stopped after a certain episode and you're like, damn, I gotta like jump back into it. So I think it's it's good for many levels, and I think it's a well done execution. But again, speaking of not well done executions, we've talked about this a few
to say the
times.
least.
But Cracker Barrel, we've had discussions about their response actually wasn't bad. I think they did a good job of crisis control and reverting back to the original logo and having some content that kind of like refers to the fact that, hey, we heard you essentially, and we're gonna make sure that we retain a lot of the things that make us true to ourselves, like the interior design and things like that. So the sad part is there was so much damage that was done up front that it still led to the point of literally, this was on December 9th. They were talking about they had to make cuts. Their projections were way lower for pretty much where they thought they were going to be in terms of actual revenue. They said that they're going to save about 20 to 25 million by doing these cuts, because it's, you got to restructure. You didn't have the kind of money and revenue that you wanted to get. So it just shows, like right here, I think it talks about they had a loss of 24 million. So yeah, the cuts pretty much are directly tied to like making up the fact that that during the quarter that ended in October, that there was just too much of a decline, right? So it's tough. And this shows that the power of brand and the power of these decisions actually have an impact on the bottom line. And you have to take these things seriously, especially when you're a legacy brand that has served so many people and has been recognized and known for a certain thing. Like, you then have to walk a little bit of a tightrope and do these kinds of things in a very methodical and well thought out way.
Yeah, this is a tough one, man, because I think, like, first and foremost, we covered this. The brand was not doing great to begin with. Okay? Yeah. The brand was on a downslope. They were struggling. They were in a tough market, which a lot of restaurants are at the moment. And their brand perception was decreasing with Gen Z getting into the market and getting into like the foodie market. So the brand wasn't doing great. Then they throw this in, which obviously was a swing and a miss. They didn't get their core demographic. They didn't get their core buyer. And I think they saved some skin with to your point, with the way that they came out after and the crisis control that they had. But you could have avoided that. At that point, it's obviously a little too late. They're not doing well. And you could have avoided that. You could have avoided that by understanding your core consumer, and they just didn't. And they swung and missed. And this might be one of the biggest swing and misses of 2025, honestly, because I think they just added fuel to the fire, and they could have just doubled down on. And we talked about this ad nauseum. Like, there were so many ways that they could have taken the brand to refresh it, to make it look nicer, add some flair to it, whatever the case you want, whatever you wanted to do. But they just stripped so many things of the core brand, so many like true principles of the core brand that they struggled. And it sucks because they are a legacy brand, and they're a brand that is like, at this point, it's very Americana. It's very nostalgic. I think every time that we took a road trip growing up, like, we stopped by a Cracker Barrel or a Waffle House. Like, it's just very American, especially the way that we grew up. So it's sad, but yeah, definitely a swing and miss. 2025, they no bueno.
Yeah, I would say they're probably the biggest miss in 2025, supplanting the biggest miss in 2024, which I would say was Jaguar.
Jesus Christ.
And technically,
I wish we would have had this podcast during that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that one happened almost leading into 2025. It was announced in November, and then they rolled it out in December. Actually, they used Art Basel in Miami to roll out the vehicle, like the new design and everything, but they already had rolled out the ads and all that stuff. And then this year they ended up firing the creative director, and like, you know, it's just a mess. It's a mess.
In turn, I feel like that sparked a really good creative push in the automotive industry for 2025. Like, I felt like the commercials were better. The commercials were more on point. People were understanding their demographic a little bit more. I think it was Jeep that had the string of commercials. They did a campaign with that, with the comedian that she was talking, that she went on this whole thing about like, the Jeep is great for great leg room for having sex with my husband, something like that. I forget exactly what it was, but you know, that was to me, that was a great commercial. They kind of pushed the envelope there, and I really loved the where they went with that. So I feel like the Jaguar thing, and maybe this will happen in the restaurant industry and that food and bev for 2026. I feel like that Jaguar experience helped out the industry in 2025, because I really do feel like the content was a little bit more elevated. Last episode we talked about the Chevy commercial that was incredible. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully this sparks something in this demographic, in this industry for 2026. We'll get a little bit better content and creative strategy from them. But again, swing and miss, man.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think another one that was probably one of the winners was Duolingo. They did not advertise in the Super Bowl, but they made this major announcement, and they kind of like had a good PR push and certain people to kind of like echo and disseminate this message, and people chimed into this conversation. But they killed off their mascot, right? And it really led to a bunch of people reacting to it. And it just goes to the point that we've said in the past. It's like, if we were to create a mascot right now from scratch and then kill it tomorrow, nobody would care, because we didn't build a story. We didn't build any association or affinity with it. There's nothing for people to latch onto. But the only reason why this worked is because they spent years building up the little owl and it being the face of it, and using it in unique ways, and being cheeky with it and all this stuff. So that when this happens, it's like, oh, let's have some fun with it, and it's something to chime into. And you even had people like Dua Lipa literally quote tweeted it and said, "Till death do us part." You had channels and brands like Halo showing photos like this with Master Chief holding the dead owl. Netflix chimed in and put him in as like an eliminated member from the Squid Games. You had the World Health Organization chime in and say, "May your cause of death be identified ASAP. One thing we know for sure, it's not smallpox, because that was eradicated in 1980. Even other video games like Assassin's Creed, you know, doing funny kind of like meme style stuff. So this was done during the Super Bowl, and it was insane how much attention and basically earned media they gained as a result of doing something like this. But again, this didn't happen because they decided to do that the day of. This happened because of years of building up the character, that there's actually a response to you killing off the character. So yeah, I think it was a brilliant use case. And obviously the tactical side of it is that then they said, actually, if you go on the app and you use it, you can bring them back to life. Like if you basically go on Duolingo and do some of the lessons, essentially they're saying like he died waiting for you to jump back on and complete your lesson. So it's just, again, the fact that you can capitalize on a moment that everyone's spending all these millions of dollars making commercials to go on Super Bowl, and then you do this and it kind of like takes over is insane. Yeah,
to be super controversial, this shows you how overrated Super Bowl commercials are. Because you can take that time frame, you could take the energy that's behind and the eyeballs that are behind the Super Bowl, and you don't need to spend the millions of dollars that brands spend to have 10 seconds, 20 seconds on a Super Bowl commercial. Like, you don't need it, man. Yeah, 30 seconds, whatever. Like, you don't need it. Like, look at the amount of attention they garnered from the creative strategy and the storytelling that they were able to do. And to your point, it was years and years and years of building and rooting this character in their brand as a mascot. But look at the outcome. Like now they're able to tell stories like this. They're probably gonna. I don't know if they brought him back, but they'll probably bring. Yeah, they have. They'll bring it back. They'll create even more storytelling on that. Like, fantastic. But again, it just goes to show you, how overrated Super Bowl commercials are right now, and spending that money on that when you can get so much bang for your buck with strategic digital campaigns like this.
Yeah. Which, funny enough, another one that we mentioned, I don't know if it's next or coming up. Let's see here. It's not the next one, but we actually do cover a Super Bowl commercial coming up.
One,
right? This one, this one here is another one that we would say is a swing and a miss. They spent $1 million trying to take over the subway system in New York, making these kind of like controversial ads that this founder knew that he was going to get people to deface it and respond and react to it. It garnered a lot of attention, but I would argue it's attention that didn't lead to adoption. And that to me is like, ultimately you're selling a wearable device that you're trying to get people to do, which is a behavior that's not that common outside of watches, right? Like Apple Watches and stuff. Like people aren't really wearing pendants. The adoption of using even glasses that have cameras or some sort of like technology in it is still very nascent. So I think that he's brushing up on a friction point, which is, it's not like this is something that people already do and you're trying to become the new thing that they wear. You're like trying to get people to do this for the first time, and it's hard. So the only credit I gave him is that you got the attention. I just don't think that this was enough, and I don't think it was the right way to go about it, to do it, because I still don't know anyone that owns one of these. And even when they were releasing this campaign, they hadn't even they had done like a Kickstarter or one of those things where it's like you pre-sale it, and they hadn't even delivered the product to those people that had paid months before. So it was like almost a slap to the face of those people. Now those people like Oren have it, but I'm sure that they probably use it once or twice, and then it's like, all right, what am I using this for? So again, I guess it's more of a swing and a miss. The only credit I'll give them is that they swung for the fences. They got attention. That's a smart thing. Like if you only have $1 million budget, how do you maximize it? I think, okay, maybe this is a cool way to do that. Just now the execution side of it is where that nuance side of it is like, how do you actually make it have an impact? And maybe,
and like you said, adoption, awareness that doesn't lead to adoption. Like, what is it? It's just awareness, and a lot of brands are going to fall flat on their face. If you're already an established brand and you want to create an awareness campaign like this, like fair enough, cool. Like Coca-Cola does it all the time, but they already have the brand equity. They already have the distribution. They already have the adoption. It's really at that point just more awareness and getting top of mind for people. But if you're a small, or I don't know that they're small, but I guess small brand like this, and
startup tech brand,
startup tech brand, like. Man, definitely a swing and miss for me. I don't know anybody that has it. To your point, I don't know anybody that wears it. I don't even know. There's probably nobody around me that knows what this brand is. Honestly,
correct. This feels very like in the New York, LA bubble, like San Fran bubble, like places that have like higher income, urbanized tech scenes and stuff. That's probably the people that would be wearing this stuff. People are like hedge funds or finance bros, stuff like that maybe. But it's still like a good thing to study, to learn like what not to do, and then also take some lessons that maybe are worth considering if you're in the right position for that. And then jumping over here to the Super Bowl ad, I didn't put the video in here because you kind of have seen it enough. This was probably the only Super Bowl ad that I felt was entertaining, essentially. And I think they did a good job of the way they kind of used the VFX and layering in Seal. It obviously was talking to like a millennial and Gen X audience. Like Gen Z probably doesn't know who Seal is. But the weird part is, like, funny enough, the last time I had Mountain Dew was 2 days ago with you. That was just because we had gotten the soda thing, and I was like, you know what, I haven't had it in forever. And it wasn't a result of this. It was just like there wasn't any other options outside of like Pepsi and other stuff and Sprite. So I'm like, let me try something different. But it's not like I'm going to go out and buy this stuff and make a decision based on this. I still think that you could have done this as a digital campaign. You didn't have to do this as a Super Bowl ad.
Exactly.
I think it could have gone viral online. And they did a little bit of both, but they used the Super Bowl to like amplify and like, put the beacon out there. But I just still feel like you probably would have saved money and gotten somewhat similar impact from this kind of situation. So yeah, it's one of the silver linings of the Super Bowl, because there's not many other ads that I can call out to that I remember or cared for.
Yeah, I think you had said it in a couple of episodes before this one. I remember the seal commercial. I don't remember the brand. Before I did my research for this episode, and you had put it in as a topic. As I was reading it, I was like, yeah, I do remember that. Oh shit, it was Mountain Dew. I just didn't remember the brand. And I guess like that's not the point. The point is to remember the brand and to have that brand recognition. And again, just like we were talking about, like Mountain Dew already has the awareness, they already have the distribution. To me, this, to your point, could have been a digital campaign, which would have been able to kind of tie in the brand a little bit more. And yeah, it was well done. They swung for the fence. It was funny. It was all the things. It had all the actors and characters and creators, on the boat and whatnot. So yeah, it was funny. And then the CEO being CEO, like that's fucking hilarious. But it was just, I didn't remember which brand it was until I started reviewing this. So, and to the point, and Marty says it here, is like, I don't remember, and you just said it, I don't remember like a super impactful brand commercial for the Super Bowl for a while. Like, I just don't. I mean, the ones that we do remember are back in the day, the Budweiser commercials, the frogs, like, those type, the what's up, and like those type of commercials that were just so impactful and so well done.
I think the reality too is that it's a different environment. That's before mobile phones even had like
fair enough
internet access and social media platforms were as pervasive as they are. Now it's like you're fighting for attention, because like a lot of people are probably looking down at their phones during some.
That's what I'm going to say. Exactly.
So it's a different world, and you just can't rely on the fact that people are being glued to the TV, because they're not anymore. It's like bouncing back and forth between your devices. You're looking down at your phone, and you're talking to your friend, and then you look at the screen again, and is the game back? All right. So that's why, to me, like, I wonder if we'll see a point where the prices of the ads will either plateau or start going down. I don't think they go down, because you know how that business is. It's almost like inflated for the sake of like saying that they could do it, because they're going to say, well, we still got X amount of people to watch the game. Yeah, the game, not the ads. So it's, to me, it's this argument that we've continued to have, because I don't know why I would spend nearly $10 million when you account for creative production and the placement to fucking do this. It just doesn't hit anymore.
Put that in digital, man. Put it in digital. Sorry.
Spread it out over the course of a year, or do it over different sprints in different quarters. Like, there's just so many other ways you can use it.
It feels, you know what it feels like? It just feels like a bunch of old heads saying that they have a Super Bowl commercial, that they created an ad for the Super Bowl, and it just feels like that for the sake of saying that, and that's it. Because it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make financial sense at all.
Yeah, 100%. So this one, so this obviously was a viral moment. The company couldn't control this, other than the CEO couldn't control himself with the head of HR. But I did want to give some credit to their response team, right? Because that actually happened, and I'm sure it's a PR crisis, and how do we respond to this? And then they get Gwyneth Paltrow to do this little spot, and it's like, it's great, because people are searching for it, and like there's a spike in traffic, and just like, what is astronomer? I've never heard about it before this moment. So obviously the CEO steps down, but then they respond with this.
Thank you for your interest in Astronomer. Hi, I'm Gwyneth Paltrow. I've been hired on a very temporary basis to speak on behalf of the 300 plus employees at Astronomer. Astronomer has gotten a lot of questions over the last few days, and they wanted me to answer the most common ones. Yes, Astronomer is the best place to run Apache Airflow, unifying the experience of running data, ML, and AI pipelines at scale. We've been thrilled so many people have a newfound interest in data workflow automation. As for the other questions we've received, yes, there is still room available at our Beyond Analytics event in September. We will now be returning to what we do best, delivering game-changing results for our customers. Thank you for your interest in Astronomer.
So I would say that that's a home run response to like a shitty
Kudos
situation.
to them. Of
Like
course.
that is a tough situation to be dealing with, and for you to respond that way relatively fast. I think that was done within a month or so, or like even less. It was pretty quick. So to script that, to do it, very well done, clean. And I just think that there's not many brands that can respond that way with that speed and that kind of level of tact. So I give them a lot of credit for that, because it does suck when you have someone so prominent in your organization do something that now you're getting headlines for the wrong reasons. And it's just a good case study for brands to see, like, hey, if shit hits the fan, what can we do? And then this is one of those examples to study for sure.
It's important to be prepped for that, right? Like, and that goes back to like creative strategy, branding, understanding who you are, and being able to have that as a pillar of your business. And that doesn't necessarily mean that is tied into the CEO. The CEO is another employee of the business. He's just running the business. And that, to me, that showcases here, right? Like, obviously the CEO screwed up. He did what he did, but the business itself has an identity that is separate from the CEO. They were able to rebound. They didn't take themselves too seriously. They made it a great play. They were able to kind of tie this into like they're selling their product in a very funny way. And I guarantee you this helped them out. Like, I guarantee you that they didn't suffer from this. It also, like, the business didn't do anything. Like, this was just a CEO and a head of HR that screwed up. But the business didn't do anything. The product, like, you know, it didn't kill anybody. It didn't, like, nothing happened here. It was so great job by the brand to be able to recover like this. So again, it shows the importance of making sure that you have an identity as a business, and that everybody that works there, you know, all the employees, etc., they understand that, especially your social media team, especially your creative team, understand at the core, what is the business? How do we want to communicate? Because that helps you, you know, churn something very quickly like this, from a negative to a positive. So kudos to them.
For sure. Yeah, I think that, again, great response. There's not many people that can pull this off. And I think that crisis management is probably like the most impactful side of PR these days. And, you know, that should be in every PR class, any seminar, anything that you're trying to study, like that. Go look that up.
That's the blueprint, man.
Yeah,
it's for sure.
And then jumping back into our last one here, really, is, I don't know if you took a look at this. I actually recently came across it, but it was kind of like this trip through McDonald land. And I thought it was a great way to merge like nostalgia with some of the newer end VFX, and just doing things in a way that feels like fresh, but have all those references and all these characters they built over the years. Again, you're a legacy brand. Like, how do you remind people and bring it back to the forefront? So here's this little spot that they did.
Get yourself ready for a trip through McDonald land. There's fish-shaped volcanoes, you'll even find a fridge veg. But just turn around and see if you won't find a hamburger patch. As a handful of McDonald's,
Come get the new Mount McDonald and shake when you order the McDonald and meal.
So what was cool is that I also looked up, it's funny that they made like an adult Happy Meal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like leaning into the fact that, you know, there's nostalgia there. Maybe an adult wants to have a Happy Meal just to like relive that moment. They also had other activations like VR and AR things like Snapchat filters and other things that they plugged into the mix, as well as some merch and other little things that they gave away. But I think this was well done. There was inspiration there that you could tell there was like heavy 70s vibes, the shots, psychedelic kind of vibe without being overly trippy. I think that they did a good, there's like a level of craftsmanship. It feels almost like these are little puppets or they're little, animatronics. So to me, I think it was a really good merging of those two different eras, and just like to bring back to the forefront and remind people like, hey, McDonald's has been around here for a while. Look at all these different characters. Look at these different narratives and mascots that we've built. So I thought it was a really well done campaign. I felt like they should have. I don't think that they promoted it enough. I think that this was like I just discovered it as part of my research, and I think that they could have done a better job of probably like with the media buying side and with the way that it got in front of other people. So what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, I told you the other day we were talking about it. Like I'm having a rediscovery of McDonald's because of Braden, because I have a 4.5-year-old, and just by default, we're going to McDonald's a little bit more nowadays. They get the toys and whatnot. McDonald's consistency has been incredible the last like 5 to 10 years. They are doing a really good job, both on the marketing end, but also like the in-store activations, their adult Happy Meals, their Happy Meals in general. I really love like the cohesiveness that they have as a brand, and I do love this. I agree with you. I wish it would have been a little bit more widespread. There would have been a little bit more like paid promotion put behind it. But they did do a lot of in-store activations. So the McDonald's here local is really nice inside. All of them are actually starting to become really nice inside.
Yeah.
And Braden loves to go to them. They don't have the playground anymore. Chick-fil-A does, but they have the inside kind of dining experience is pretty nice. And they had a lot of in-store activations as well, which was really cool. And the toys were really cool. And I really do love the adult Happy Meal side of things. I don't necessarily get them, but I really do love them. They just did, and we're going to talk about it. We'll talk about it now, but they just did the Grinch one for Christmas, where they gave the socks, which I thought was an incredible activation, because different color socks, stuff like that. And again, we'll talk about that now. But McDonald's is doing a really good job, man. I really like where they're at. I feel like their cohesiveness throughout the marketing and their consistency is on point. I love that they're bringing back the nostalgia, and they are tapping into like their roots, the characters, the mascots, stuff like that. I think that hits home, like that hits a lot more now than it did maybe 10, 15 years ago with the mascots, because we're getting into that era that now you can create these kind of like sub mascots that play on digital spaces. That could be part of your brand, like we've talked about. We just talked about it with Duolingo. So I like it, man. I hope they do more of it. They just, like we talked about last night, they just need to bring back the 29-cent cheeseburger hamburgers, the 39-cent cheeseburgers, and the bucket of fries. If they do that, man, they've got everything covered. They're the perfect modern brand.
Obviously, the value side of it, it's gotten insane with like the cost of some of these fast food joints, that it's like no longer you're getting a deal, right? Like it feels like you might as well just go to a regular restaurant at times, or a fast casual, where you would expect to pay a little bit more of a premium. But we'd love to hear from the viewers. Like, what is like that thing that you remember McDonald's for and that you want them to bring back? For me, it's 100% that, like the 39-cent cheeseburgers and the bucket of fries. Like if they do that, I'm in. But I'd love to hear from the viewers. We'll create a clip here, a reel. What is that nostalgic McDonald's item that you'd love for them to bring back? Yeah, for sure. So that kind of wraps up the best and worst of 2025 for us. Selfishly, we want to jump into at least one of the projects that we more recently had been working on before we kind of wrap up with the open floor. For context here, we're working on a event production company. We're kind of further down the process of refreshing their brand. They're keeping their name, and there's certain elements to it that they wanted to maintain as part of this process, but they definitely wanted to refresh it. This is a look at their current identity. They've had it for nearly 15 years at this point, and they felt that it was time to update it. We agreed. We thought that there's definitely elements to modernize and make it feel up to date. Like these guys do nearly 1,000 events throughout the course of a year. Like there's sometimes over a certain day that they're doing 3, 4, 5, 6 events across different parts of like South Florida and even like I think as far as like Central Florida, but mostly South Florida. And they wanted to kind of showcase that they're more established now. And then they started off doing a lot of wedding events, and then they started scaling into like corporate events and brand activations. Like they've done things like even with Tiffany & Co. and with Dwayne Wade and with other, high profile brands and individuals. So it needed to reflect that. So we went through the process we usually do. We had a whole brand workshop with them. And then we came back after we gathered enough inspiration to show them the 3 different stylescapes, which are the 3 different like visual directions that their brand could go in. So we have it here so you guys could kind of take a glimpse into it. This first one we presented, it was kind of like called Timeless Voltage, right? It was a little bit of more of an elegant approach, but still had that spark, still had elements that gave it an edge. Wasn't all just high end and premium and nothing that and too soulless, right? Like you don't want something that just feels like you can't touch it, because they still work with some, planners and some events that are just not at ultra premium level, but they still want a good quality service done. They want the event to go as smoothly as possible. So this one kind of leans into the more of the elegance, the refinement, the sophisticated side of it. And you can tell here, like orange was definitely something they wanted to keep. They didn't want to stray too far from that. We did explore other supporting colors that might work with it, but for the most part, a lot of exploration from typography, from textures, icons, and all that stuff that could help bring it to life. And so that was the first one. And then the second one that we actually went through, we called it Sensory Frequency. It's a little bit more toned down, but still elevated. Isn't as like high energy, but it has a certain level of like atmospheric, calm yet radiant approach. More of a roundness to it in some of the shapes and some of the different textures and elements that we brought in here. You can feel like a little bit of a haziness. It feels like you're in this like other world. Like it transports you to another realm, right? They do a lot of things that are experiential, right? They were getting into projection mapping and doing things with that that also can be used in different events. So we showcase, what that looks like with video boards and with projection mapping as part of the event. So it leans more into that kind of like tech modernism side of it, while having that, sonic atmospheric thing. Because they started off mainly being DJ lighting and audio and stuff, and then they added other elements to really make it a full-fledged production team over the course of time. So I feel like this one leaned into that sonic audio inspiration of like, hey, we started as this like people who could set the tone from the music audio side, and then now we do it from like all the other sensory touch points. And then the last one here heavily leaned into F1 and racing and precision and speed, while still having that elevation and that boldness that you want from a partner that's going to be taking care of the event. Like when you think about an F1 pit crew, you think about a team that is like prepared for that moment to make it feel like nothing happened. Like you came in for the pit stop, you're in and out, and you didn't even blink an eye, and they're back on the course. And that's the kind of thing that you want from a partner that's going to be running an event for you. You don't want there to be hiccups. And if there is a hiccup, how do you respond and have that, all those things? Like you have option A, B, and C. They have backups. Like these guys are really well prepared. And so we wanted to like have something that chimed in on that kind of element. And so that's what we presented to them. And based on all of them, they actually liked the first one, that Timeless Voltage, the most, with elements of the third one. And so we came back and we went through, different logo concepts, and the working concept that we kind of brought together was this one right here, which is, it's using their existing brand elements, like the 3 little stripes. We gave it some direction, some motion. We bolded the font and made it stand on its own. You can extract these things and they can work standalone as well together. And so we felt it was a good way of not departing too much from their original concept, while giving it enough new life that people are going to pay attention, right? So and there's even other elements here that, you know, we didn't even bring up, which is what does like secondary marks look like, and how do you bring that to life when you look at a deck or some of the other stuff. So, you know, I can pull that up, but JC, I don't know if there's any thoughts that you have on this and you know, how we went about this process.
No, yeah, and I would love for you to pull up a little bit of those kind of like secondary word marks and logos, because I think that's important too as we go through this process. You know, I think I'm always incredibly impressed and humbled that you're part of Cultura and the process that you take, and that you're a partner at Cultura and the process that you take, the strategic process that you have for discovering these brands and diving into these brands, and really the work that goes into that is incredible. I love where we are at with the logo, because we're not done. Obviously, now we build the world around it, and that's a really fun process here. Once we get into to kind of like the nuts and bolts of the logo, the brand strategy, the communication, everything that goes on with our branding process. But yeah, this process was amazing. The client is incredible. They do great work. And I think that getting the branding and logo to the level to which the business is at is really important, because it felt like their current branding, their current logo, and they said the same. They said very similar comments. It didn't feel like it matched the business they have become. And that happens a lot, right? You start a business. Most businesses do not have branding, marketing, creative in-house. You just can. It's you know, a lot of businesses, unless you're at a certain point, they don't have that, and you really don't have the time, nor a lot of the times you don't have the funds to have this rebrand. And I think that it was really cool to meet Mike and his team. And to see where they're at as a business, and that they're at the point now where they're able to take the time and really like the focus in helping us with this process and helping us get, like I said, get their logo, get their branding to where they're at as a business, and meet them to where they're at as a business. So that was a lot of fun, man. And again, we're not done. I would say we're a little bit past, 50% of where we want to be with the brand, and now we create the world around it. But this process is amazing, and your work is incredible. But I love what you do as well, and it's one of the things that I think that really separates you in your process, is understanding the levels to which branding goes, and how you can use these second and third logos, word marks, whatever the case may be, to represent your brand in the right way, and how that can be how there can be a through line to the original logo, to the main logo. So kudos to you on that end as well. But and you know, your work speaks for itself. The logos are incredible. The branding is incredible.
Thank you. Yeah. And like kind of going deeper into some of these mock-ups and the way that we start showing how it's applied. Like we presented other concepts, right? Like a monogram that has an E and the F versus just the 3 stripes. But then we also mocked it up on things like their team, right? Their staff has to be on site, and they're setting up and tearing down and all these things. And there's ways that you can blend some of these things, right? So you could still have the primary logo all together here on the front of the hat, let's say, and then you could still have the secondary logo that lives on the side as like another mark that references the brand, and it still feels cohesive. It still feels like it's part of it. And we always like playing with that stuff, even initial early mock-ups of what does it look like on, the containers and the trucks that they pull up to these events using, and when you see it on the street. So like it's another billboard essentially as it's riding on the highway and through the streets and at the event. So I think it's important to consider these kinds of things. Same thing with their equipment. They have the big boxes and smaller gear too, where they have a stencil and they spray paint the logo and what it looks like. So just giving them a snapshot of what that could look like, at a smaller scale. And then we obviously start showing it more and more. This is more recently just showing them these are the different concepts. This is kind of how it looks like in action in some of the applications, and how it's brought to life, right? So we do a lot of exploration. This is a small batch of the many, many iterations and different concepts that we did explore. These are just some of the ones we felt were strongest and that were worth considering for them. So that's kind of like a look through at what we did. And even when you come in here and looking at things like how you can create a language for them, right? Like currently they just say they do weddings, they do corporate events, and they do brand activations. But we found like maybe there's a way to reframe it and showcase it in different ways, right? And then using that secondary mark as almost like an ownable branded, categorization or like divisions of the business, which we felt would be something to explore and worth considering. And just looking at the typography in action, right? Like if you wanted to make a big, bold statement on a slide, you could use this kind of like elevated typography of a serif font, but also have the boldness of the orange that kind of makes it not as ultra premium. So like playing that balance, showing what different kind of like layouts could look like if you're showing a process or steps, different arrangements of information and layout for the typography itself. These are all things that we kind of like showcase for them so they can see it in action, and it's not just like a logo on a screen. It's something that they're going to use and as a tool to sell and to communicate with clients, even to the point of going down to things like texture, right? And just considering how these things could play into it, having a range. We like looking at it almost like a toolkit or a crayon box where you can go in and pull the ones that are the right ones to use for that client. Maybe for the wedding one, you use something that's more of like the velvet and the suede, and it's, more refined premium experience. And then maybe there's another corporate or brand activation that could use some of these more industrial kind of textures and things that, lean into that side of it and show that you're like a partner for the experience and for them bringing to life what their brand and their business wants to do. So these are all things that we consider, showing them like if we use any of these marks, like can we rearrange them as patterns, as other icons, as secondary marks that we could use. So again, we like to be thorough, and this is still many more iterations to be done, but at a glance showing what this process is like. And we're really happy with how we got here, because it was a good example of how do you take a brand that's been around in the local market for basically 15 years. And I think it's maybe 17 years at this point. And how do you do something that shows it's like a 2.0, not a complete departure from, it's something that doesn't have any connection to their existing identity. So that's always like something that we take into consideration. We don't do a Jaguar here. Like we make sure that we consider all the things, unless there's a moment where you really need to signal a shift and depart from something because there's something terrible that happened. For the most part, we like taking the history and the context into consideration and not just doing something that, is completely out of left field.
Yeah, a couple points here, and I showcase Adrian's comment, super clean. I agree. And, one of the things that was really cool about this project, which happens a lot, obviously, but not every single project are we able to kind of activate the entire team. It just doesn't work out that way. We have a lot of things going on. But this project was very specific in being able to activate the entire team. And it was really cool to have mostly everyone, if not everyone, at the meetings with Event Factor, being able to ideate, being able to think tank through all of this, really on a brand strategy level, not just a branding level, because it matters. It all goes through. There's all through line, and that is showcased in our understanding of the brand as it came in. We knew that the important matters here were, one, so many different touch points that a consumer or a client sees Event Factor in, from like the briefcase that you put in there in the photo, to the trucks, to the merch, which is really not merch, it's what they were wearing to be able to go to these events, to their presentations, which sounds a little old school, but it's the truth. One of their first touch points with a lot of these clients is, hey, what do you guys do? What is it that what is your range as a business? What are your capabilities? And what are your capabilities? And again, it sounds very old school, but like that first touch point's a presentation. It's a PowerPoint. It's a PDF, and to be able to have that cohesion with the communication of the brand and what they do is a huge deal for this specific brand. It may not be for another brand, like a DTC brand that we're working on, which their main touch points are obviously going to be their Shopify and their Amazon and how they look on a storefront. But in this specific case, you know, it was presentations, it was merch, it was a briefcase, it was a truck. So it's very important for brands when searching out for an agency or a third party to be able to handle a branding or their marketing or whatever the case may be, is to really dive into the business aspect of what you do, and what you and how you are showcasing to the market, because that is really important in all of these, because it's not just a logo, it's not just colors, and you listened, and we all listened very carefully to what they said in those first couple of meetings, which was they didn't want to detract from their identity, because it was very important. You know, from the colors to the stripes, etc. And to your point, this felt more of a 2.0. It really does feel like the branding and the logo are meeting the business where they're at. And that's really important, man. And kudos to you and kudos to the entire team for putting this together. And I'm excited to see how we finish this off.
Yeah, and I think the other important layer to it was that we told them up front that we understand that you want to maintain, you know, elements of like the logo and at least like that the three stripes. And we told them we're also going to explore other options, because that's part of our due diligence. Like we
Correct.
can't just take your word as face value and not act as a true steward of, hey, let's make sure that we don't leave any stone.
You could find something throughout that process.
And we did. We found the monogram that could still work as a secondary option. And he loved that idea of like, especially on the hat and even on the presentations, like how do you bring that as like another thing as part of this brand world? And so that's why we do that. And also the second part was the versatility, like showing them that for these different segments and these different people you're talking to, you can like dress up or dress down or dress differently based on what you're pitching to them. Because yes, a wedding planner and a bride come to you and they say they want you to do something for a wedding, and then you show them a bunch of corporate events and they're like, this means nothing to me, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So, and you should have an adjustment as to, it shouldn't just be plug and play and cookie cutter. It should be like, okay, maybe it's a different texture or color or font for these, just because it makes more sense. It gets that point across in a more effective manner. You should speak to people where they are and within the context of what they're looking for. So that's always a fun challenge to take on. And I think that we're on the right track here with them. So that was kind of like a glimpse into some of the work that we've been doing, as well as others that we'll be sharing in 2026. But to wrap up here with the open floor, some things that JC and some other members of the team shouted out that we should kind of like highlight and talk about before we wrap up. That Grinch meal, right? This is a thing that you brought up, that you actually went to McDonald and saw it. I think Braden even has some of the socks, right?
Yeah. He has. It was funny. We're in the car and Marty and I were like, I think we have 3 colors. So you want to get that fourth, and that's the point, right? That's kind of like the whole point of this Grinch meal. Really cool. So it comes with like the salt, the Grinch salt, if you will. It's really like a dill flavor. It's weird, but it's not bad. It's actually kind of cool. It's a fun activation. And then it's an adult meal, so I think you either get the Whopper or the chicken nuggets. And then what's really cool about it is it comes in that little Grinch box, but you get the sock as part of like the gift there. I loved it. I compare this to the one from Burger King, which they did something similar with SpongeBob. And the box itself is the the pineapple or whatever where he lives. I wasn't a SpongeBob guy, so I don't know much about it. But the little treasure box was also themed. It had a little themed pie. So that one was really cool. But to me, it fell flat in the sense that there was nothing that I could take away from it. Everything was going to the trash. Everything. There was nothing that I can grab and take away from it. There was nothing that I can collect. And to me, that's where the Grinch meal really takes kind kind of like the place here on winning on these type of activations is like whenever you do something like this, you want the consumer to you want it to be long lasting. You want them to be able to take something, collect something, whatever the case may be. And McDonald's has always been great with this, with the Monopoly game. That's a great activation as well, outside of the whole issues that they had with the fraud, and that was a great documentary. I highly recommend that. I don't know if that's on Netflix or something like that, but the whole fraud behind the Monopoly was fantastic. Yeah. Great documentary. But McDonald's is always great with this, and I love the adult Happy Meals. I love this concept because it's like it's not necessarily the whole Happy Meal concept. It's really like the collectible, the being able to take something from it that is really important here. And yeah, to me it was a home run.
Yeah, I also remember, I don't know if it was McDonald's, but the old Batman mugs. You remember those?
Yes.
Like in the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah, like the way
they had the Disney ones too.
Yeah. They did stuff with I don't know if it was them or Burger King, but with Pokemon, like all those things are memorable, and there's takeaways and collectibles from it. And I think that's always at the core, especially when you're like using it for like a younger audience too. Like those are things that they're going to remember. The socks are just a practical thing too. Like you get to wear to go to sleep,
especially now in the winter, man. A lot of people are wearing socks. Braden's wearing them, and again, the different colors, you can collect them. It's fun. They have the Grinch on them. They obviously have the McDonald's logo because but they have the Grinch on them. Really cool activation, man. And and by the way, what a comeback from Grinch. Like I feel like when we were growing up, it wasn't as prominent as it has been in the last 5 to 10 years. Kudos to Jim Carrey for bringing that character back, honestly.
Yeah. My mom is a huge Grinch fan, so she always she has a bunch of Grinch like dolls at the house whenever Christmas rolls around. And we always loved the original, but then I think when Jim Carrey like brought it back, it brought new life to it. And it's cool seeing these two. I've seen 2 versions of it. I forgot if it was Target or another brand did one with that more like real action style of the Grinch versus this one that's the Dr. Seuss like original cartoon 2D version. So it's like it almost feels like it's 2 different versions that are out there, and they work independently, but they're obviously the same character and equally have the same persona and the same attitude and all that stuff. So it's kind of cool seeing how both can work.
Yeah.
And then last one here.
Salty for me. I don't even like the pickle flavor. That's funny.
I'd be interested in trying it. I've been more recently getting into pickles, and I'm a fan of dill, but obviously in its own context and the right usage, like it can overpower for sure. This Disney, I wanted to show one more before we wrap up, and then we'll shout out to a local partner and friend who's been killing it on social. But Disney did like a holiday short here, and it really like tied into like the whole kids, the fact that the art that they do and how do you bring that to life, and almost like that magic and imagination that kids have, and then bringing it into the Christmas world. So we'll watch this, and then we'll do the last one. Part of it. It's a bit long, but we'll probably do a minute of it.
Come on, finish your list. It's bedtime.
Love the animation style here.
Mm-hmm. It's cool.
I got told off for doing it. I also got told off for doing a math too.
Interesting, the Toy Story music in the background.
So good.
'Tis the season to be jolly.
There's like a whole narrative arc to it, right? Like gets sad and then she goes to console him. And so it's well done, I think. And like I said, the animation style is so cool with like that stop motion, but it's still in a real, cinematic thing.
There it is.
The Toy Story.
That's funny.
Mouth, I have a mouth. Oh, wow, I have so much to tell you. You're the best friend in the world. Also, I love this wallpaper. Oh, my voice sounds good. Donuts taste like clouds. Candy canes taste like magic. Eating is my favorite. Anyone else feeling dizzy? I can feel the wind in my mustache. This is the best Christmas ever.
We ended up playing it all the way through just because it was so well done. But it's, I think it's just goes into that childlike imagination, and how do you bring that to life and also captivate the parents who are watching it to feel that connect with when they were growing up. This is more of what Disney should be leaning into, and how they do a great job of the storytelling, the animation, and just the worlds that they've built, right? We saw so many references there, from Star Wars to Toy Story, to other little nuggets that they had in there. So I think this was more impactful than a majority of what they've done recently, in my opinion. And
Agreed.
so I think that was just a nice little call out we wanted to shout out as part of these like few holiday campaigns that we've been seeing.
This is what they should be doing, man. This is where they should be winning, is in storytelling and animation, to your point. Like, kudos. This was really well done. Want to see more of this from Disney, and not some of the stuff that they've been putting out in the last couple of years. So good for them. Really well done.
Yeah. And the last one here, we got a shout out to a member of our network and a friend of Cultura, Marcela, and she's been killing it with this series of different, Cuban inspired, Instagram live inspired personas that she's been doing. I looked, there was like, some of them have hundreds of thousands of views at this point because they're getting shared like crazy. This most recent one, she's like, if Miss Claus was a Cuban American from Miami, going live, chismeando with her followers. So like chisme is, talking about rumors and spilling the tea of sorts. So we'll play some of this just to give her some love, and she's been killing it with this. So
Buenos dias. Good morning. Hi, you guys. Hello. Es que hace un frío here in the North Pole today y estoy frizada. ¿Qué haces? I'm having breakfast. I made a cafecito, and look, I had to hide it from Santi. Look at this cookie. It's from the place I told you guys about, Stacks. Bueno, he ate the whole box. I had to hide that one because I wanted it for breakfast this morning. Any plans for today? Yes. Me voy a hacer el pelo. I'm going to get my nails done because Santi and I have dinner with a couple friend of ours. The husband's a little bit of a Grinch, but I love his wife, Marta May. We go shopping together. Super elegante. I love her. Do you have a favorite reindeer? Okay, bueno, I have a very special place in my heart for Rudolph because they used to laugh and call him names. Pero Prancer, since he was chiquitico, him and I have this connection that I cannot explain. But I love them all. I don't have favorites. I love them all, okay? Do you stay in the North Pole all of December? Yes, usually I do, but I don't know what it is about this season that I am very homesick. So I've been thinking that next week I wanted to go into Miami. There's a couple places that I've been wanting to check out. There's a Miracle Christmas pop-up bar in Calle Ocho that looks incredible, so I want to go there. And then there's a Christmas Wonderland in Tropical Park. I haven't been to Tropical Park in years, caballero. So I think I'm going to do that. So if you're in Miami and you want to hang out, let me know. I'm going to be there.
So
amazing.
She's done a bunch of like the Virgin Mary going live, and those have gotten numbers. It's crazy. But she's, she has her own channel with us and she's been doing amazing things. So we wanted to give her flowers and wish her more success with content like this. But JC,
Yeah. And
parting
no,
thoughts?
this is incredible. I've been talking to her the last couple of weeks, and it's cool to see these videos go viral and her getting the attention that she deserves, because this is really good. This is really well done. You could tell it's really thought out from a content standpoint, kind of like breaking it down. It's a low pull, right? Because it's so simple to create the video, but the storytelling behind it and the way that she's able to kind of plug and play her story, her authenticity, being a Cuban American. Obviously, there's a lot of American story here in the sense of like Santa Claus and how we have Americanized Christmas, but also bringing in that Cubanness and like the funny jokes and that speaks to her authenticity. So super well done. She does a Jesus one where, it's Virgin Mary and this whole thing, and which is really funny as well. So I love this. I love the ability for her to also now piggyback off of this and create more characters. I can't wait to see what she creates. And like we were talking about earlier, man, it's all about building community, and I think that she's struck something here, building community, and building that engagement, and yeah, kudos to her. I couldn't be happier for her, and I can't wait to see what she does next. If I'm a brand, and just by the kind of sound of it, it looks like there's already some brands that have reached out to her. But if I'm a brand, I am diving into this as quickly as I can to take advantage of this virality and to take advantage of this authenticity and what she is creating. So again, kudos to her. I am so happy for her. I'm so proud of her, and she's killing it, man.
I mean, look, this is the one I was talking about. This first one this year release has 600,000 views already.
Yeah.
Not to mention the comments and likes and the shares.
And it's so shareable, man. Yeah. It is so shareable.
It hits another inflection point when like my mother-in-law is sharing it with Regina and I, and when we have friends that share it with us and they don't even know that we know her. And so it's like good. It's like good to see that there's other channels. Like it's, even though the layers of separation are short, that it's still, you're getting other people sharing it because they feel like it's worth sharing, and they find it humorous, they find it entertaining. So it's incredible. But this is her, like, it's not like this happened overnight. This is her trying something out and it hit, and she's like, all right, I'm gonna keep doing it. And as you see all here from the numbers, like it's been amazing.
That's a great point. I want to be very clear about that. Marcela has been grinding for a long time, and she's got the podcast. She's been working very hard. We know because we see it. We're part of her network. She's part of our network, and we're with her all the time. So we've seen her hard work. We've seen what she's put into this. She's got from someone who gets it, which is on the Cultura Talks network. But she has been trying, testing, working things, workshopping things, and this is what it takes. And again, just kudos to her for not stopping. I know, at times it gets hard and it's tough, but kudos for not stopping. And I'm so happy that she found something that is, again, authentic to her, but that has legs that now she can build off of and build a character. And this is not the first character that she's tried, to your point, and this is what it takes. And again, kudos to her. I'm so happy for her. Good for her, man.
Yep. So again, thank you all for tuning in here. We went a little bit longer because we knew that this was going to be our last episode of the season before the new year. Technically, our next event should have been on the 1st, but we're not going to do it on January 1st. So stay tuned. It's probably going to be the 8th or the 15th. We'll announce it by early next year. And there's definitely a lot to discuss as always. Thank you all for being a part of this journey, and we look forward to a ton more in the new year.
A couple things here, and Adrian said it last show, but I finally got the painting up. So Adrian gifted the show and myself a painting that I can have when we go live. So this is some of the amazing work that Adrian does with his art. And we're so happy and incredibly humbled to have him as part of the team. We love him. The shirt also was shouted out Creative Club. That is another show that we have on Cultura Talks Network. That is one of our partners, Hector Zea, that will be also coming back in 2026. We're really excited about that. We were excited about everything that we're doing at Cultura, Casa Cultura. Hopefully we'll be in there in January, early February. A lot of great events coming through. I know we're working on something already with a local band, which is going to be a really cool collaboration. We have a meeting set here in a couple weeks, so that's going to be a really cool event coming through. On the agency side, we're excited with all the projects that we're putting together. And then on Owlgorithm, I know that we really got some exciting guests that are going to be coming on board in 2026. We want to dive into really heavily into the health realm in January and February. I know new me, new you, new me, whatever the phrase is. In January, February, everybody's going to be on their grind. So we'll be diving into kind of like, the health industry and D2C on that end. We've got a lot of things also on the retail side. Probably be bringing on Tim Linehan from the brand partners, and then we'll dive into also just the entire world of marketing and everything that we're doing, and continue to showcase our work. So I'm excited, man. This podcast is a great example of like you just got to do. We didn't really talk much about it. It was like, hey, we're DMing each other constantly. We're working on these projects. Why don't we just get together every 2 weeks and talk about it? And really, it checks all the boxes for me. I get an excuse to be able to stay on top of our craft and what's going on in our industry, which selfishly I love, but also be able to talk about some of the projects that we're working on and be able to give the viewer an insight as to what's happening in the marketing world and what's happening in branding and what we feel are home runs and strikeouts and a lot more coming for 2026. So thank you for going on this journey with me, man. I appreciate it, and I'm excited to see what unfolds on this show and in our agency and our business in 2026.
For sure. Appreciate you, man. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the new year. Peace.